Hey everybody, welcome back. If you're new here, hi, I'm Mercury. So today, I don't know what it is with January. I like to hibernate in January. It's cold. I don't like going places in January. So I'm home and I'm cooking because I need soup. I ate all the soup I just made. So now it's time for a fresh batch of soup because otherwise I won't have lunch this week. And then I get hangry and that won't be good. That will not be good. So we gotta make some soup. I found a recipe on a website called eatingwell.com for a cabbage soup. I have never had cabbage soup before. I'm intrigued. What will it taste like? I don't know, but I do like cabbage. So I'm willing to give this a try and see, how this recipe goes. The only change that I'm making to it, instead of using a green cabbage, I am using a red cabbage because red cabbages have more vitamins and like nutrients. So I wanted to do it with a red cabbage so I get a little more oomph out of it, so to say. But that being said, a red cabbage can be a little bit tougher and thicker than a green cabbage. It might not wilt the same way that a green cabbage will, so I may have to cook it a little bit longer, is what I'm anticipating. So that's the variation that I'm making to this. So other than that, it's gonna be a straight shot from the recipe, unless as I'm going and I taste it, I feel like adjustments need to be made. But we'll see how that goes. So to the kitchen for the ingredient lineup. Here is the ingredient lineup. We have our olive oil, celery. I don't have regular size carrots, I have the baby carrots, but that's okay. We'll work with that. Tomato, this is the red cabbage. Garlic, it called for Italian seasoning, but I don't have a pre-seasoned mix, so I have thyme, oregano, and basil. So I figure, I'll make my own Italian seasoning. Salt and pepper. Then a bell pepper. This is also a change I'm doing. It called for white wine vinegar, which I don't have, so I'm going to use a little apple cider vinegar. And then this is my broth. I have homemade broth that I'm going to use. So that's what's in here. And that's the ingredient lineup. So first things first, I got to prep the veggies. There is a lot of prep work. I got to do some chopping. I got to chop up the garlic. I got to chop up the pepper. I got to chop up the cabbage. I got to get chopping. I almost forgot. You also need an onion. So there was an onion out there. I just forgot to mention the onion. So yep, we're going to get chopping. But when I do the baby carrots, I line them up in a carrot shape, and that way I figure out how much carrot I need. It told me I need 2 carrots, so this to me is 1 full-size carrot. So that means 7 baby carrots is my approximation on that. So I'm over at the stove now. I have my big old stock pot. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna put some olive oil in the stock pot, and then we're gonna saute the onion, the carrots, and the celery. And then once those start to soften, that's when we're gonna add in the garlic and the bell pepper. And then we'll let that cook a little bit, get all nice and happy and blended in flavors. And then what's going to happen after that is the cabbage and the broth and the other ingredients are going to go in along with some of the seasonings, and we will have some yummy soup hopefully. So next up, sauteing these veggies. Now it's time to add the peppers. Got ahead of me, knew it was going in. Time to add the peppers and the garlic. Gotta leave the tomatoes on this plate though. Tomatoes go in later. We're also going to be adding in our Italian seasonings. So that's like the basil, the oregano. I'm also using some thyme. Also some salt. And some pepper. I use the kind with the built-in grinder on it. So now that that has cooked and softened a bit, it's time to add in the cabbage, the tomatoes, and the broth. So I'm gonna start, because there's a lot of cabbage, I'm gonna put the cabbage in first and sort of arrange it, and then put the broth in, and then the tomatoes. That's the order I'm gonna do it in. So the next step is I gotta bring it to a boil, then drop it down to a simmer and let it cook. I'll be back when it's all done. So the timer just went off, so let's see. We got our little pot holder because that's hot. Oh, steamy. Look at that. Looks good. Looks good. Now we're gonna have to taste it. So, soup's on. I put a little sampling in this cup, and I used a clear cup so you could see the color. Because I used the purple cabbage instead of the green cabbage, all the broth is purple. Look at that. That's a beautiful color. That's a beautiful color for soup. So, time to give it a taste. Let's see. Let's get a little broth first. Whoops. Just the broth. Let's just taste the broth first. It's really hot. It just came off the stove, so. Well, it's really nice. It's like a very nice vegetable broth. Okay, let's try a little bit with a little chunk of cabbage in it. So the cabbage gives it texture, but not really a lot of flavor. What it feels like is all the flavor got drained out into the broth. So there's not a lot of flavor to that chunk of cabbage that I just tried. Now let me try, this is a pepper. This is one of the peppers and some broth. It's so hot. You know, that almost reminds me of like a fire roasted pepper. It kind of has a similar kind of a feeling to that. That's good. So pepper's delicious. Let's see. That was more of the cabbage. I stand by my original assessment. Great for texture. And I'm sure it's also like making it more filling. And yeah, I mean, this is really nice soup. It's like a very simple vegetable soup. Has a good flavor, good balance. You have the sweet from the carrot and the pepper, you know, but it's not an over the top. It's a very mild soup, but very delicious. So I like this. I think this is gonna be a good lunch. If I wanted to make it even more hearty, I could envision like cut up potatoes. Like I can't have white potatoes, so I would use like a sweet potato of sorts. But I could see like a cut up potato, like potato cubes, working really well in this also. When I was looking at the recipe online, some people were adding more tomato or canned tomato to give it a more tomato base. Could also work also. There's a lot that you could do with this, but this is a good solid vegetable soup. I like it. So I guess with that, I'm done for the day. And enjoy the rest of this. I'll see you all real soon. And until then, stay inspired by everyone. Take care.